What's up, everybody, and welcome to the first ever race breakdown on the DC Cycling channel. This is the Liberty Cycling Classic in Lynchburg, Virginia. This is the 4-5 Criterium, and it took place on April 18th at 7:45 a.m. I'm being really specific about the date and time because this event was one of the very first races that most people here in the Mid-Atlantic had done in at least the last year. So many people were stoked to come out and race. Lots of people signed up for this event. So there was more than one 4-5 race. There was more than one 3-4 race. So they had to split the fields up because of COVID protocols. So this was the very first race of the day. There were 35 to 40 people in this field, and the race was set to be 30 minutes long. There wasn't any wind in the morning, and while there were a couple of teams in this race, the teams did not really work together, and therefore team tactics did not come into play during this race. However, there were some shenanigans. A little bit about me. I am 35 years old. I am 5'11", and I weigh 168 pounds. I have an FTP of about 275 to 280, and I am riding a 2020 Specialized Venge Pro. Given that I knew this was the first race for a lot of people, period, as well as first race in a long time for others, I didn't expect that any moves would stick. I thought everybody was going to be really motivated to chase. So my goal was to stay in about the top third of the pack, stay in the draft, try to be as efficient in the corners as possible. And as you'll see, sometimes I did that pretty well, other times not so much. So about this course, here we are on the back straightaway. This was, the fastest part of the course. It was kind of a gentle downhill, and as you can see, we had 2 lanes of highway that were open to us here, so you had more than enough room to get around and make up positions. Now, the reason why you see me out of the draft here is I'm really just soft pedaling and positioning myself for the next turn. You could take this turn as wide as you wanted and pedal all the way through. And then this was where basically all of the elevation was gained back on the course, was up this little hill that was then going into the finish line. So I kind of knew that when it came down to the finish, you had to be in a good position going into that hill. Otherwise, there was no way that you were going to get a high placing. Then you went through these little chicanes, again, very wide with the cones. And then we come around right about here to the start-finish. And then they built in some other chicanes. Again, a lot of people didn't really take what I thought were the best lines possible here. I was often going around. You can see right now I'm doing basically no watts. I tried to leave gaps so that I could then come up behind people. There you can just see one guy who went outside the barriers and then came back in. That happened several times. It happened to me. And those barriers, they ended up actually moving some of them a little bit later on in the race because that happened so often, and it seemed that the barriers ended up being a little bit more of a hazard than the cars they were meant to protect us from. So here we are going into this corner one more time. Now you can see just about every time that we hit this hill, it was going to be, 500, 600, 700 watts. The group really did start to break up. I'm kind of mid-pack at this point. You can see right up there you've got this one Kelly Benefits guy who's kind of got a gap on everybody. But, as I said before, I was pretty sure that people were going to fill in. I thought that I was closer to the front than I actually was, and I really start to notice that it's very, very stretched out, that there are lots of gaps, and I decided that I really just wanted to try to move up a little bit more. it's not just me who has noticed this. Other people are starting to scramble, and they're trying to close the gaps, bridge the gaps, and so I decide that I'm just going to jump on their wheel, wait till they expend themselves, and then skip ahead to the next group. Okay, shenanigans number 1. Why is there a car on the course? So like I said, at this point, this is when you're really going to see me start to sort of follow the wheels and bridge the gap when I knew that those others couldn't. As you can see, I just passed by this guy. I dropped him. He did not jump on my wheel. Those folks are all struggling to catch on. And here we go. Another 600 watts. Pass by these guys, and I'm still not at the front. But I'm going to jump on this, I guess this is another Kelly Benefits guy. This guy is going to do a lot of work for me, so I sit on his wheel for a good minute here. We're in a chase group of 4 or 5 here, maybe 6, if that guy on the back latches on, and they're trying to close that gap. And I think that's the lead group up there. So we're just trying to catch on to those guys and make it to the front. Okay, guys, I don't know what I did here, but I have gone around the barriers. Whoop! Pop right back in. And again, these guys over here, they're trying to catch on to the group ahead of us. And so I'm going to hop onto this guy's wheel. And now I'm in the draft. You can see my watts go down. We're going downhill. And we are almost there. We are almost there. Something that you guys are going to learn about me from watching these videos is that I am bow-legged as hell. Look at my shadow compared to this guy in front of me. Look at that. I look like I'm riding a horse. And I've got my dad to thank for that. It's absolutely a genetic trait coming from my dad's side of the family. But the irony of it is that my dad had knee surgery, and now he's not bow-legged anymore, but I am. 900 watts, 950 watts coming out of this corner. This guy ahead of me, he sees the brake up ahead, and you know he's waiting for me to pull through. But I can see that that was it. He kind of blew it, and that's the brake. That is the brake right there, and I am catching back on. This camera this is super view right now, so objects are closer than they appear. I promise you. And I'm getting up, and now I'm on this guy's wheel, and I have made the front group. Now that said, this front group is not entirely cohesive. I don't know if this guy probably I think was getting gapped a little bit, so I'm behind him. You can see there's a gap now to the front 3. And I am noticing that I'm probably going to have to get past him to make sure that I get clear to the front group yet again. So I am just now closing this gap. I am like, okay, now I'm in the front. We are, 10, 11 minutes into this race, and what has happened? What is this? Why are there whistles? They're stopping the race. They're stopping us. So we had at least at this point a 5-second gap on the field, at least. Now you can just see him rolling in now behind us. It's maybe even more than that. And we're gonna sit here for a little while. What happened was there was a crash, and the guy was fine. Unfortunately, he hit those insane barriers out of the sharp turn there. So once they got that cleared, they set us on a neutral lap. Now, we were supposed to get our gap back as the lead group, but that did not happen. Guys moved up, and they never allowed us to reestablish the gap that we had. So here it is. It's all back together, and in the meantime, we've also lost 10 minutes in the middle of this race at the time that we were sitting there. So this has gone from a 30-minute crit to a 20-minute crit, broken up into two 10-minute portions with a 10-minute gap in between. So basically, everybody is fresh again, and we are continuing the race with 10 minutes left. So skipping ahead just a little bit here, the race is back on. We pretty much have our positions back again without that gap. As you can see, there are some gaps forming again, and some people are coming around me here and there, but I'm not very concerned about that because again, I know everybody is fresh again because they just had like a 10-minute break, and this guy right here, he's closing all the gaps. So I figure I'm just gonna sit on his wheel and let him close the gap every time one opens up, and just sit in his draft until it seems like he's cooked. right about now, you can notice there's a guy who's got a little bit of a gap on the front. And that gap is only going to continue to grow. There was a little bit of confusion about, how much time was left, I guess, how many laps were left. And the guys who are right on his wheel, they thought that there was more time. So they weren't chasing as hard as they could. And so here we go. Except for you can see this Kelly guy. I think he's got it figured out. So at this point, I'm feeling like I have pretty good position in this race. So what am I? I'm like fourth wheel. That guy does have a pretty good gap. I'm pretty sure at this point they're gonna catch. Alright, so this is the bell lap. This is the last lap, ladies and gentlemen. And again, as you can see, this one guy, I think he's from Redshift, he is way off the front. He is not coming back. But out of this group of four, I'm sitting fourth wheel going the last lap. I feel really good. But then, this. I'm outside the barriers again. And I have like 10 riders or something like that go by me. I do over 1,000 watts to get back up to speed, and I take the inside, and I get all my positions back, all of them, and then some. But really, I should have gone outside, and you're going to see why, because this guy sees me, he closes the door on me, causes me to take a little bit of a bad line going into the start of this, and I don't think I downshifted either, so now I'm sort of grinding going up this hill, and I get passed by a couple of folks, but overall I feel pretty good about it. So I roll in for 8th place, and then I've got another race coming up a little bit later. So if you like this and you want more, please like and subscribe. And I've got the 3-4 race from the Liberty Cycling Classic coming at you next. Thanks for watching.